Hello and welcome to Pankration Philosophy, Episode 5, still going strong. I'm your host, Pocholo Cruz, and with us today is our special guest, Morgan Englehardt.
Hello.
And then, of course, my friend and co-host, Scott McDonald.
I mean, I don't know if we're friends just yet. I mean, I'm still trying to gauge, you know.
I'll retract that. I was never friends with Scott McDonald. I just happen to be in the same room as him right now.
We have a great working relationship.
Just like to punch each other in the face.
Yeah. You know. Then so I'm still trying to figure that out. But,
So Scott McDonald, confused person, is unaware of who is a friend or a companion. Anyway.
Yeah.
Scott, would you
I don't feel like I'm confused. I feel like I'm pretty
confused about being confused. This is going
Just blame
very
the patchy
well.
facial hair.
Yeah. I'm looking like a philosopher.
Yeah.
Each day.
It's cauliflower ear too.
Exactly.
That too.
That special touch all of us have.
His thoughts are about as smooth as his facial hair.
I don't go for smoothness, I go for honesty. But
he's honestly not knowing what's going on. But enough about Scott. Let's go. Morgan, thank you for joining us.
Of course, glad to be here. Thank you
thanks
guys.
for coming on. We
Well,
really
for now.
appreciate it.
Yeah, right? I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. There's really no plan, so
Let's go with the flow. I mean, that's what we do.
But we just wanted to have you come on because we want to hear about your MMA journey. Like, how did you get into mixed martial arts? We obviously have a lot more questions on your experiences and things like that. So how did you come to fighting other women in a cage? Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. So how did you?
Right. So basically, it started out, I was looking just to get in shape for softball season when I was a senior in high school, and then I was gonna go into CrossFit. So I was just gonna be, you know, one of those cool girls that could just lift weights, but I thought that was kind of lame at the end of the day.
You found out that CrossFitters weren't cool.
Yeah, no, it's like, cool, you can lift a weight. Well, I want to be able to kill
False.
you. So, like,
CrossFit for the win.
Yeah, so then I ended up joining West Coast Fight Team in Auburn. Spent some time there. Had my first fight after 3 months of training.
Okay.
Yeah, threw me in there real fast. I fought a southpaw, didn't know what a southpaw was, so just circled into the right hand the whole time. 3 months later, had my second fight, first knockout. That was sick. And then I was like, yeah, I like this.
How did you knock him out?
Just a straight two. Like, it was just a two. I just think, and she fell forward.
So back to the fight. So for your first fight, did you just hear there was a fight going on and they told you to be a part of it, or were you just interested in fighting like from the get-go from there?
Really, when I joined West Coast, it was like, I want to get in shape, so I was just doing kickboxing for fun. They're like, oh, you're pretty athletic, so we have a smokers exhibition fight. You want to give it a try?
Okay.
Sure.
The smoker. It's actually a fight. There's nothing. It's not like a sparring match with teammates. It's some person's gonna try to
Explain what
you.
a smoker is, Scott.
A smoker's supposed to be like an exhibition match where you get work in and you know you go at a relatively easy pace. That's what they tell you. But when you show up, the person that you're matched with tries to beat you up. Like literally, that's how it goes. I only did one smoker because I hate them because of how they get. They get really high pace and it's just the risk of injury is pretty high. I sparred a fucking dentist. He told me, he was like, hey, it looks like we're matched up. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. And he's like, yeah, you know, just I like to do this. This is a hobby for me. I was like, so what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a dentist. And I'm sitting here like, man, I'm trying to be a pro fighter, bro. Like, I'm about to get in that ass. But it was cool. No one got hurt. But yeah, that's just what
people get hurt in those. It's crazy.
People do get hurt.
Shit goes down.
Okay, so you fought a dentist. That's funny.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, and now every time I go to the dentist, I'm like, are we gonna fight or what? It's like I'm triggered. You know what I'm saying? So your second fight was a knockout, and then, after that, did you just kind of catch the bug? Like, what was that feel? Well, first of all, what was it? What's the feeling of knocking someone out like?
That first time I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Like, I was just like, I wasn't like proud of myself. I was like, oh my God, like I felt bad. Like instantly I just like, was like, oh shit. Like, I'm not sure I liked that feeling necessarily, but obviously I do.
Okay.
It just like, it was so real to me in that moment where I didn't know how to kind of conceptualize it and kind of what it meant or didn't mean at all, I guess. It was just kind of by dumb luck.
Yeah, so how would you say, like you couldn't really quite comprehend like what exactly happened, but like what were the thoughts running through your mind when it did happen, if you could recall? Do you remember like the sequence of events that happened?
So it was the first round, like minute 30 into it. I dazed her a couple times. They stopped it and they're like, "Are you sure she wants to continue?" And their coach was like, "Yeah, throw her back in there." And then it was
Shouldn't
like
have thrown her back in there.
later, yeah, right. I think it was like her husband too. That
Oh
was,
my God! What a horrible marriage.
Her husband.
I can't remember.
You get in there.
Yeah.
Look, you know what? If you get fucking slept, it's over. I got the divorce papers ready. God damn it.
Darn it, Josephine, you go.
I'm only doing this because I love you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder how their marriage turned out.
Dysfunctional.
Maybe that turns them on or something. Who knows? People are weird.
Dude, anyway, back to how Morgan was feeling.
Yeah. I don't know. It was,
So you hit her, so she dropped.
no,
and
she
now
fell face forward.
Fell face flat, like face planted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just kind of like stepped back and I was like, everyone was cheering. The place went freaking crazy because how often do you see that? And
Right.
then I was like, well, okay, I guess I like this. But what sucked is that I knew 10 days later I had to get on a plane and then go play college softball in Arizona for 2 years.
Okay.
So it was a short celebration.
So at this point, MMA just was kind of like a side thing. You just kind of were like interested in it, but your main focus was softball, right?
Well, the thing is, I hated softball. So I was kind of being forced. Yeah, I was committed to playing for the school. I was on scholarship. So I just, I begged my parents. I was like, please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But they made me go, and it was for the better, I think.
Why did you hate softball?
Well, I mean, for me, I couldn't handle failure very well then. And softball, for me, well, you think about batting average in softball, 300, so you're failing 7 out of 10 times was kind of hard for me as like a perfectionist or someone that always was really striving to not fail. So definitely MMA has helped me grow from that mind.
So then in softball, so how did you get your start in softball?
Oh, I was a little kid. Like my family was a big baseball family. I played with the boys until I was 12, and then I kind of had to switch to the girl sport. That was fun though. I think I've always enjoyed beating up boys. If you guys couldn't tell.
No.
She hits hard, bro.
Breaking news.
She hits hard. It's like.
I'm gonna scoot my chair.
So tell us a little bit more about beating up boys. Like, what was that? How does that psychology kind of just evolve in you?
I don't know. I think, I was, so there's 4 of us in my family, and I was in between 2 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that kind of plays a role into my just kind of natural competitiveness with guys.
Okay.
Yeah, my little brother and I used to fight all the time. I remember one time he tried to drop kick me off our stairs.
Drop kick you off the stairs.
Yeah.
What a savage!
Yeah. And he was always bigger than me too.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Well, you probably had it.
Well, you know what? We
Yeah.
can call
Did
it
you say
equal
you
if you. We'll call it equal if you just drop kick Ender right now. Get on this table and just drop kick him.
Done.
Just drop kick him right in the chest.
So, is there a difference between like? Okay, so competing and fighting a girl, and then competing and kind of simulating fighting with a guy and sparring. Like, is there noticeable differences that you kind of think of, or is it just depend on the individual that you're competing against?
I would say kind of try to like dissociate the person. It's just kind of like more so a body in front of me.
Okay, McGregor.
Is that what he says? I don't know.
It's just a body. That's no face in my
But no, but I
opponent.
think that's just a very general thing, because I
Yeah.
think, well, in essence, like, when you fight somebody, I don't care about the person. If they just happens to be a target.
Right.
So I don't want to relate any more additional things.
Yeah.
Like,
I get it. You can't be like, man, this person has a family.
Yeah. As you're there ruining their
Probably
life.
just a worker struggling in this society like I am.
Yeah,
Why
no.
am I fighting you? Shouldn't we be fighting
Yeah.
something else? Class consciousness.
Yeah, but no, it just makes it easier if you don't think about it. It's similar to how if you look at movie villains or like the general cannon fodder, it's like stormtroopers or orcs, things that are dehumanized. So I feel if you the more you dehumanize like something that you're
Yeah, with
hurting.
stormtroopers, you just don't know if it was
Exactly, you don't. You're not sure.
Maybe in between.
It becomes rather like the gender and the vision doesn't matter at that point. It just happens to be a target.
So you just looked at your
Yeah.
opponents as stormtroopers, right? And you're like Leia or some shit like
Yeah,
that. Cool.
yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's tight.
So yeah, I mean, my thought process about that now is kind of like, I actually just got this necklace that Nika gave me, and it says "Me versus me," and so that's kind of
shout out to Nika for
I know,
gifts.
yes, it's my favorite. But that's how I kind of like, I don't know, not care about hurting people, because I don't like to be mean to people. I don't like to be in angry arguments. But I do a sport where you hurt and kind of simulate murder. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Simulate murder. So what does the significance of me versus me, like when you see that and when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means to me, I compare it to the way I was in softball.
Okay.
Yeah, that mindset of like, you're a failure. And so this is for me just to like be always striving to beat myself to be better. Yeah.
Is there, with that whole like failure mentality of like, that seems like a lot of pressure. Like,
Yeah.
so is there, what are the pros and cons of that? Because I operated from a very similar space. Like I would win, I had these really bizarre moments, like when I won my first amateur title. No, actually the second time I defended it, I did what you did to my opponent. I face planted him with the right hand, and then I spazzed the fuck out. Like you can find the video.
Yeah.
I was the third person. He did spaz the fuck out.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah,
so.
he was there.
Yeah.
But then I took the belt, and then I went in the back, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh man, I did this wrong. Fuck, that wasn't enough. This doesn't really matter. So, and I think that was because I put so much pressure on myself. So could you kind of, for you, describe how has that been good for you, and how has that had its kind of setbacks?
Oh, it definitely has more setbacks than I think it does advantages. And that's something I've been like really trying to work on lately, but it's hard for me to even watch my own fights because I'm so critical of it. I mean, I watch it and it's like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done this. But just being able to take a step back and kind of be like, it's hard because you never want to be completely settled, or at least I don't think you want to be completely settled with what you just accomplished, because you can always do your best and do better.
Right.
So that's kind of that weird balance of like, well, how do I appreciate what I just did, but then also want to keep growing.
Do you feel like, well, this is for both you guys, like, do you feel like it's kind of like a Western mentality of MMA? It kind of is like, it sounds really corporate. It's like you meet the goal and then you surpass the goal, and it has to be like this, and if you only accomplish this, then that elevates your worth. It's like almost meritocracy for me, like merit-based.
It's merit-based, it's results-based. It's about what have you done, and then as soon as you've done something that doesn't matter, it's now on to the next thing. It's a very, you have to be consistently progressive, and I feel, you know, with both your ideologies, like that's kind of how that's how winners are supposed to be. I feel is what's based in this culture, and how I relate to that is that, you know, I've seen you guys and I see how that it's the same thing that propels you. It can be the same thing that can hurt you in the end from there.
Oh, 100% hold you
Yeah,
back.
Because you guys are, you know, talking about how you felt that pressure, but in essence you can't deny that the pressure did help propel you forward. But at the same token, it's still a negative impact. I mean, the way I think about it, it's similar to you're climbing a ladder, but to make yourself climb faster, you set fire to that ladder, and that's what's keeping you going up. But then what happens is once you get to a point, there's no
Fucking
way back
ladders
down
burnt,
from
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Exactly.
fall.
Yeah, because and then you ask yourself, like, why was the point of forcing myself to climb up to there? And I feel that's not just alone in just this singular thing. I feel that happens to a lot of people when they're pursuing even athletics. I mean, I think particularly athletics, because I feel a lot of people enter athletics when they're young and they don't really understand what they're in it for.
Right.
But then it becomes a part of them. But then once that ladder was burnt, that just reminds me of, you know, we're talking about your sister's boyfriend, who was who was in the NFL, and then
Once he got injured, it was like he wasn't shit. You know, he was
Yeah.
disposable. And you even see it with like Dominic Cruz, who to me is one of the most like fantastic fighters. He's one of my favorites just because of that movement. I haven't seen anyone else be able to do that. And then he tears his ACL, and the show must go on. It's
Yeah,
like, well, fuck
exactly.
you and everything.
It's like, what have you done for
You
me
can
lately?
commentate
Yeah.
now with your suit and
Yeah.
say some clever shit, but that's it, you know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I never want my identity to be a fighter. You know, I like really try to push myself to be other things, and I don't know, I want to be like a chef at some point in my life too. You know?
Okay.
we're gonna just go ahead and punch some flavor into this chicken, and then we're gonna elbow drop, tenderize the meat.
Cooking with Morgan.
Cooking with Morgan.
Exactly.
The stage hands, like just fucking, just shell shock because you beat the shit out of him. Here's the pepper. God damn, don't hit me again.
It's just Ender. Oh no.
I almost want. Ender's got an amazing jacket on right now.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, it's not jacket. It's a vest.
That's right. That is a vest.
It's true.
It's a vest jacket.
Glorious vest.
Yeah. So let me try to explain it. It's essentially.
Good luck.
Yeah. No. It's what an extra in an anime would be. What typically either a villain from like a North Pole cold area, but someone who would definitely, but not the main villain, but like
a side villain.
like the side, like the lackey of the villain, like similar to like a Toad Magneto situation, or like a Goomba to a King Bowser from there. Yeah. So yeah, he's the underling, and the underling who always gets like kicked.
Yeah.
You know? So not even like Megatron Starscream, where they're second in command. It's more Megatron and Starscream's intern, who Starscream kicks after Megatron.
Starscream kicks me the fuck off.
Yeah.
Be Starscream. Can I be Starscream?
No.
I mean, you do have the
killed.
high-pitched voice, but you're not that
Yeah.
He gets killed by Galvatron, bro.
cool. Yeah.
That's okay.
Who's technically Megatron, but then Megatron becomes Galvatron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, tangent.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, so what about? Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring though about a chef. So like, what about cooking, or anything in particular about cooking that interests you?
Well, I think it's kind of like any art that I'm interested in, like writing too. It's just the fact that it's something that I can put my own expression on.
Okay, expressing yourself.
If you look at my Instagram, it's always like food pics.
Yeah.
You know, I love it.
Food
Yeah.
pic heavy.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're eating so healthy as I just take a slice of Little Caesar, shove it in my mouth.
You can't say that.
And then the Dragon Twins kick down my door and they're like, bro, you gotta eat more healthy, man. I'm like, fuck you guys. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're right.
You guys are always
you.
trying to give me diet advice, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, you lean Abercrombie and Fitch looking motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here, I'm guns out, bro. I done my fighting. I'm done.
You've been there. You don't
I've
need
been
it.
there. I don't need it anymore.
No, you don't.
God.
Enjoy those carbs.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott. So, Morgan, about your expression, you bring up writing.
Yeah.
Don't you? I hear you have a blog.
I do have a blog.
What's that blog called?
Fight-with-me.com. I was really mad because the fight with me without the dashes
Was already taken?
Yeah, and I was like, someone just has it.
They probably just bought it and then
Yeah.
just waiting to cash out on the domain name.
They had no
Yeah.
host?
No, it's not. I know. So I got to figure out who the owner is. Maybe
that's
they'll
what
release
happens because
it.
people just buy stuff and then they expect like, like,
Someone's gonna
Oh, and
do
then
the
they
blog
waste
on
it.
Yeah.
And look at
Oh,
what
you
happened.
don't say. In our
I
society,
know.
buy stuff and then waste it.
Well, it's not even waste. It's because they're making the commodity becomes the name. Like from there, like if someone bought www.scottmcdonald.com and then you wanted it, you're like, oh, what? Who else has
There's a
Scott
price
McDonald?
tag to it.
I
He's
should
like, well,
buy that
how much
shit
do
ahead
you
of time
want
just
it?
in case. You never know.
Scott, it's probably already taken at this point.
Yeah.
I already took PocholoCruise.com. Suck it. Yeah. Yeah.
There's like 13 other Pocholo cruises.
I know, but it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
Highlander.
super common
yeah.
name.
Yeah, so you know that super common name of
Yeah.
Pocholo Cruise. But yes. Okay, and then so what about when you're talking about expressing yourself? I think that's important because a lot of people when they look at martial arts or they focus on the fighting, and like you said, you don't think of yourself as a fighter. But so how would you explain to somebody who doesn't quite understand the arts and martial arts? Like how would you, let's say if you describe it to them, like what you do as a martial artist?
I feel like I just have to be true to who I am. And then it's but it's the process of learning who you are at the same time.
Yes.
I think sparring, we talk about this all the time, about how sparring and the different people you spar against just display their own personalities in the way they train. Like for me, I'm kind of an impatient person. I'll kind of just rush through things a little bit too much. Where Pocholo, a little bit more patient, kind of waits for you to come and fall into his trap. And then there's like we talked about, DJ, he's super fast, he's behind, bop, 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 and that's exactly how he spars. So I think everybody has a way of expressing themselves, whether they realize it or not. And little things, everyone has their own mannerisms, like the way that Ender's over here sitting That's Ender expressing himself. I mean, he's got
myself by not giving
the vest. By the way, they're talking about the fur vest.
The fur vest.
For sure, Pocholo's story.
Starscream's intern.
He said expressing myself by not giving a shit. That's a t-shirt right there.
Yeah. Well, he's saying not giving a shit while giving a lot of shit about saying he's not giving a shit. And him responding to that just shows. But that's pretty powerful though. About, I think, because when I hear what you said, it's like it's about somebody constructing their own voice, you know, and finding their own place, and that's something that I feel is a lot of people just disregard that notion. You know, they forget about, you know, how to exactly express themselves, or one, they forget like who they are, or one day, actually it's not even really forgetting who they are. I feel a lot of people live their lives not really bothering to figure out who they are, like from there. And you know, when I see like the me versus me necklace, you know, that you have, I think that just in essence is just the motto or the struggle of the artist, because that's what the artist wants to do. It's not it's the artist is figuring out who they are. It's not a matter of I mean, the world just happens to see who the artist is, but that's just the artist's internal struggle of figuring out who themselves are, and that's how I take a look at that expression.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to a deep philosophical question, and just try to answer it the best you can. And I'm sure you can. So there's a anarchist philosopher named John Goodman. He's not that well known, but he had this whole idea of like self-transformation, which leads to societal transformation. Now, you being a woman, I'm sure there's all sorts of assumptions about you fighting, right? Negative connotations or derogatory comments made. So I have a lot of questions in regards to that, but my first question is, when did you kind of make this, was it a conscientious decision to want to get into combat? Like, were you just like, I want to get into combat because on some level society is telling me that I can't?
You know, I wish I was that deep, but I don't. When I first got into it, it wasn't about combat. It was just about pure competitiveness. But since I've started training at AMC, I feel like I can see that in a different light. And you talked to me about the YPG, or those ladies out there fighting ISIS, and
I have an article that I want to read a little bit later about that.
But yeah, I think there's a sense of that us women are always trying to seek empowerment, because we were always pushed to be suppressed, just kind of naturally. I mean, there's signs of women what I'm trying to say, but women being suppressed in just nearly every culture, which I think is ironic because we give more humans to the world. But I don't know. I think you have to definitely reach a different level of consciousness when it comes to putting yourself in combat situations. Because I think I've been kind of looking into some like military documentaries lately, and you can't put yourself in the same mindset as someone just kind of, you know, going to school at UW. You have to kind of break that level of, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this right now.
I feel like I know where you're going, is that I think in order to engage in like combat, like you weren't aware of it at first. You were just so competitive. I think the whole idea of just being that physical with someone and hurting them, it didn't strike you until probably after, because it's like you're throwing yourself into it. And it is very similar to like the YPG in northern Syria. Like, I could go on a rant about that, but they have something called the Women's Protection Unit, and all these women have picked up arms and have left behind traditional oppressive lifestyles where they're supposed to be domesticated, and also they live in a region where Islam is the predominant religion. So if ISIS does take over in that region, what we're talking about is complete repression of women. So they've made the decision to take up arms and fight, not really out of political consciousness, but also out of necessity. And I memorized the article, so it's like, I just want to know your thoughts on this. It's kind of crazy. There's an 18-year-old woman who was talking with Time magazine about the first time she killed an ISIS soldier, and she shot an ISIS soldier and then screamed because in like a very feminine like way, because she wanted his the other soldiers with him to know that a woman had killed him. So it's like, even in telling that story for me, like it feels natural, but I know our society has all sorts of implications about that, and it's typically normalized that if a man kills a man, it's like, well, that's what men do. But if a woman kind of embodies that warrior culture, it still isn't accepted, I feel like, on that level. But even, I mean, in our gym, it's gotten better. I'm sure Pankration gyms and MMA gyms, 10 years ago, had a completely different mentality. I know that AMC had women fight, like Kim Messer, and I know Bambi fought, but I'm sure there was still that patriarchy there. So this leads me to my next question. First, what do you think about the YPG, just in what I've told you? And like,
oh, fucking empowerment, that shit.
Wait, back. Let's explain what's YPG.
Oh, so it is. So Rojava is an area in northern Syria, and there's the largest ethnic minority in that region. They're the Kurds, and they've been oppressed for generations. And the leader of the YPG, it's a militia essentially, and it's designed to protect the Kurdish people. And they have a small government that is really kind of like, it's called democratic confederalism. They have small institutions, and it's actually direct democracy. But the leader and founder of the YPG actually is all for women's empowerment. So he's like, we want women to fight in these units, in these women's protection units. So typically in a mission, these women are like the advancing force. So you can look it up. That's what the YPG is. So, yeah, they're badass. It's badass women with Kalashnikovs killing fucking Islamic radicals. It's wild, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of. I was watching. It was like a short documentary on them, and it introduced this girl named Gulan who was just starting her process of joining that group, and she said they only have 1 month of training though.
Yes, that's true.
So. I think about how much I learned over just 1 month of training MMA, and I really didn't know anything. So I would love to see those women receive more training and experience. But I think that there's something deep inside their hearts and in their heads that give them some kind of power that you just can't train.
Yes, and that is kind of I will note the 1 month of training too. There's actually a lot of Americans who are going over there and fighting with them, a lot of leftists, and there's some people who have like really incredible stories of going over there. And then there's also some fucking whack jobs that are going over there and fighting, like, yeah, the lack of training and just lack of material resources they don't have a whole lot of support from us as a country, but they're still fucking just going in there just on passion and heart and just honestly survival. You know?
That deep, like, motherly, like, womanly survival instinct.
And that's the other thing. I think women bring a different energy to fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I honestly, I can't speak to what it is, but it is like this really deep survival instinct, right? Can you speak to that at all, or like, because we talked about expression, and I think that's important. Like, does that come through in your expression?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when I'm sparring against you guys. It's hard because I've never had really a lot of women to spar against. So, I mean, that's kind of just like the normal for me is sparring against males. But yeah, I think has kind of bit me in the ass a few times, just like my natural instinct to really want to, because as a woman, I feel like naturally we feel like we're here and men are here, you know? So I always feel at a disadvantage. So maybe that's kind of why sometimes I throw harder than I mean to in sparring, or I don't know, I just feel like physically we are at a disadvantage when it comes to physical engagement. I think that's just kind of a fact. So to think that we're equal is not how I really strive. Like, what I think women shouldn't strive for is equality, but I think just kind of like respect more so, and just you're a person more so than separating those two things. I think, especially kind of like with this whole Me Too movement and stuff like that, women are trying to seek empowerment to kind of beat men, but not just be okay with being respected on a fair playing field.
Right, because that's the thing I think about too. Because if you're granted respect, you'll just be granted equality. Yeah. Because if I respect you like I respect any person, then that'll be granted to you. If I just accept you and your humanity. And yeah, I've heard I want to hear some stories about shit ever been said to you like at a gym where you're just like, what the fuck? Because I've had women training partners.
Yeah.
Like Shatrine is someone who's amazing that I love to train with. And I wish she was.
Shatrine.
Yeah, shout out Shatrine, who has a crazy story.
Yeah.
She has becoming a doctor. So,
Yeah.
but I remember someone said something to her in the gym where he was like, oh yeah, you're just too pretty. You shouldn't fight. I'm not gonna say who it was, but I was like, what the fuck? Did we just take a time machine back into the goddamn 1840s?
I know.
Like, I was like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. Damn it. I wish I had $1 for every fucking time someone said that to me. A lot of time it's people outside of the gym or kind of outside the martial arts or combat world that will say that. They're like, oh, you're too pretty to fight. What are you doing? You're gonna hurt your face. I'm like, you don't understand that it's not.
I wish people would say that to me.
Yeah.
You're too pretty to fight. I'd be like, you know what?
You would actually have to be pretty.
Yeah, I know.
I tell you that every day, Scott. Scott.
But how does that make you feel? Is it just kind of like fuck you or like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, you just don't understand. That person just doesn't have the consciousness to understand. Women have been in combat for like a long time in history.
Sparta.
Yeah, exactly. But it takes like a special woman to want to engage in it, I think, or just a special kind of mindset or level of consciousness, whatever it is. I don't know. I think at the gym, it's hard because I compare what it's like outside of AMC versus everything else. Because inside AMC, I feel super respected by my guys there. And, I think you guys respect me too in the same level.
No
that
doubt.
we're just martial artists, and that's who we are. It's not a matter of like paralegal Scott over here. I don't know what you're doing, but
No, that's exactly
Whatever
what
the
I
hell
do.
Scott does.
That's exactly what I
Eating his
do.
little Caesar's pizza.
Just fucking paralegal Scott over here. Yeah, no.
then we got some Microsoft folks and stuff in there, you know. So it just doesn't matter who you are. I think at AMC it's so special because we all just treat each other like martial artists pursuing the same thing.
Yeah, that's real. You've received a warm welcome at AMC and it feels like home, and was it the same at West Coast as well?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, like I give that place all the credit in the world for just giving an opportunity to like find combat. You know, I think about if I would have landed in some gym that didn't know anything or just taught me like completely garbage technique or fake martial arts, you know, I could be
some key blast.
you know, just something completely
Jones.
useless,
Yeah.
right?
Attack. Rex Kwando.
Yeah.
Attack me.
When they're shooting the double, right on their head.
Yeah.
Break the wrist, walk away.
Yeah. You think I got to where it was? Dressed like Peter Pan over here? Forget about it.
You're gonna go home to Marla every night?
Yeah.
Dressed like Peter Pan over here?
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
You want to run around house, kick the face with these bad boys on. But okay, so back to your combat career. So, you know, we talked about your first two wins, and now let's talk about, you know, you have a current matchup coming up, right?
Yeah, June 2nd.
June 2nd. Okay.
Defending my belt for the first time. It's cool.
Your belt at what weight class?
125.
25, and for axe fighting. And so what about, okay, so let's say we talk about your first two fights. So what has changed for you in terms of fighting, in terms of your approach to fighting, from let's say your first fight to like let's say how you're preparing now? Like what's would you say have been some differences or some changes, or what stayed the same?
Oh, I think my mindset of how I train and how I want to perform and how I even go into a fight has completely evolved. Especially because those were just smokers. I didn't even know I didn't even watch fighting on TV yet. Probably saw one in UFC of Ronda Rousey and that was it. Like,
so you would have like a rough idea what fighting was?
Yeah, I had no idea. Okay. I competed in it before I watched it. I don't know, since then, I mean, it's been 4 years since I put on my first pair of boxing gloves. I don't even see myself as the same person at all. And especially since I started training at AMC, a lot of times when we're drilling and training, it's like we're having these conversations that are kind of more empowering and more important sometimes than just going hard and just, you know, doing stupid cardio for no reason.
Yeah. I hate fucking cardio.
Do that outside the gym, you know, but I don't know, I think Matt yesterday was talking about how our best game is the transition game. And for me, I was so focus on just landing my right hand when I first started training. Like I had a...
You were like Hendo.
Yeah.
You were
just like throwing these
crotchety old Hendo.
haymakers. Because it worked. I mean, like it worked for me. I played softball, and so that I just had strength there and natural athleticism.
Yeah.
But if I want to take this to another level or just really improve myself as a martial artist, I feel like we have to focus on those transitionary periods. And a big thing I've learned since is the clinch. That learning the clinch has tied all of MMA together for me, because it's like things you do in the clinch, you do in grappling, you do in stand-up. And we talk about this all the time, just about how it's kind of the same shit you're doing, just in different positions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I think that's a very important matter. It's like, I think as the way I look at it, in terms of like, as you go over like several crafts, if you master several crafts, you see like the common underlyings in what in each craft from there. And especially in terms of, mixed martial arts, there's several. I mean, there's multitudes of martial arts like all over the place, but you can find what works for you and the underlying principles that make it successful. And I think, and along with that, then it's crafting it. There's what makes it successful, and then it's figuring out what makes it successful for you. And I think it's that being able to individualize that.
Well, for the people that end up grasping the whole transition thing that Matt talks about, they end up making like leaps and bounds in their development. Because there was a fight last night, Poirier versus Gaethje.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What was that?
Poirier just got the better of him. I mean, Gaethje landed some hard shots, but it was like TKO late in the third, I think.
It was TKO in the fourth round.
Oh, TKO.
It was TKO in the fourth round. Gaethje was essentially like made Poirier's right leg, his lead leg. Poirier's the southpaw, essentially unmovable. And it seemed like, so Gaethje had just lost a point in the third round. So it seems like he was going to go more on the aggressive in the fourth, but then Poirier just caught him with a straight left, caught him again. Gaethje was essentially out on his feet and just kept
just accumulation of blows. But I bring up that fight because like if you watch it, it's really just one dimensional. It's just boxing with MMA gloves. Some low kicks from Gaethje that were effective, but there was nothing that was really mixed about it. It was like a kickboxing fight. And so like if someone's hands aren't successful in a fight, if they can create kind of an exchange like in wrestling where they can come up and throw a hook or throw a high kick, I mean that's a game ender. So that's kind of what Matt advocates for. And you see in DJ's game, right? It's not just boxing. It's like, well, kickbox, shoot, come up, strike, then get the takedown again. It's a very level of attack, though. If you can, and it's hard to practice because there's not really one way. It's really conceptual. It's not like A, B, C, D, like 1, 2, 3. It's just understanding that you can create opportunities to land a combination you want, like if you were just boxing, or same thing with submission, right? That's why we do punches and then submission. So,
Well, I think it's that one thing, because it's not just one thing; it's everything. But then it's too large a concept really for someone to grasp, unless they have a further understanding of. Because the way I look at it, it's similar to how, let's say, it's like how you build a house. There's a lot of pillars to it, but then you have to build up everything to get to the same level, or else it doesn't. It's a shaky house, and it can collapse on itself.
Some people get far with a shaky house, man. But
that's true. But then
that shit falls though.
Or you end up throwing chairs at buses.
Yeah, exactly. No, but because the farther you go in unstability, the more likely it's just gonna fall onto itself because you just keep expanding. I think a prime example of that is Ronda Rousey, how she got so far and then it just ended up, the hype machine ended up just collapsing on itself from there. Yeah,
and then you had like Chuck Liddell, like the striking with sprawl and brawl. And then that's kind of like, that doesn't do it anymore, right? You need to just be good everywhere.
Yeah.
You should be dangerous everywhere.
I find it pretty disappointing when I watch UFC fights and then they're just throwing hands back at each other. I think the fighters in 1FC kind of do a little bit better of a job of kind of like pure fighting. Oh, nice. Whoa.
Shout out to 1FC. We need sponsors.
1FC Manila, April 20th.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Like, I think about watching Angela Lee fight, and have you seen any of her fights before?
Atomweight champ.
Yeah, she's an atomweight champ.
What's atomweight?
Atomweight
105.
Jesus Christ.
105, yeah, but they weigh in 10 pounds heavier there.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Didn't you know that ONE FC in their weight class system, essentially, so 170, you weigh in as you weigh it pretty much like 180, like 185. So pretty much they take all the weight classes and it's essentially like bumped up. So
That's the deal with the weight cutting issue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Smart.
So then you don't have to. All you have to do is just be hydrated at your, what your optimal weight essentially should be, and then you fight at the weight class that you would be anyway if you just went out and took out 10 pounds of water weight.
Got it.
Which is very smart, I think, very intelligent, that other organizations should look into, because I think it was very critical. It was very critical, like, for them, because they had somebody die make weight.
Yep.
In ONE FC, like, there was a flyweight, I forgot his name, but he passed away, I think, at least 2-3 years ago, and that's unfortunate. But that's just the reality with weight cutting. It's a very dangerous habit.
There's been some close calls in the UFC too, man. Uriah Hall passes out.
Exactly. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the amateur scene. I mean, you see people cutting so much
There
weight.
shouldn't be amateur. You're maybe going to rant.
I heard you talk about this before.
No, it should be semi-pro.
Yeah.
You should get paid a little bit just to do this sport.
Yeah.
Amateur is a sham.
Watch episode 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, but back to Irving too. Like Irving, in episode 3, he talked about how he cut 18 pounds of weight and then fought the same day. That's crazy. That is how people die.
That's how you lose quite a few brain cells too. I mean, your brain's gonna be the last thing to rehydrate.
Yeah, exactly. And now look how Irving talks now.
He's got an accent. Like, how did that help?
Irving was British.
His whole facial structure changed. It's like,
His IQ was 204.
Irving actually was Stephen Hawking Jr. Anyway, we got way off topic there, but you're talking about striking styles, and then or talking about how people blend in strike, and you're talking about Angela Lee. And anyway, so, well, back to that. So what, I guess when you're looking at how you want your game to develop, like what do you what do you think about it, or how do you think about obtaining those skills? Because it's just one thing to see something and want to implement it, but it's another thing of taking that idea and then making it part of your own.
Yeah, we have to just have the consciousness to understand the point of what you're doing.
Of what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, be able to see kind of full circle in that aspect. And I think that comes, like, I wish I had more opportunities to teach people, because at AMC I just feel like I'm a student and I'm observing as much as possible, but having the ability to teach it then also kind of brings up your level of consciousness of what you're doing.
It certainly does.
Well, I feel like everyone has the opportunity, to teach there. I mean, just because you're a student doesn't mean you can't teach. Vice versa, just because you're a teacher doesn't mean you can't learn. I feel I learn the most from, my training partners. From there, it's not just necessarily, coaches instructing me, but I mean, ultimately, you are your biggest student and teacher. You have to realize that you have to teach yourself, but then you're also, you should be willing, to teach others what you know, because I think that ends up growing your overall level. I mean, we talked about this last week as well, Scott. What do you think about that?
It's all about mutual aid.
Yeah,
is what mutual aid, about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A factor of evolution.
Yeah,
if you will. Yeah.
No, it literally, because what happens sometimes is we fall into like a teacher role. That happens to me a lot, but what I also try to do is balance it with, like, when I'm sparring, I'm paying attention to what someone is throwing at me and seeing, like, what they're doing well, and then just remembering that there's things that work in their game that I should try to implement. But it's kind of like breaking the mold of thinking, like, okay, here's a coach, and then here's a student. It's like AMC has a really interesting dynamic with all the fighters where it's like we all just feed each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
We're kind of like, it's just a free-for-all, and I like it that way. Like, I like that Matt comes in and gives us guidance and stuff, but I don't like that we're stuck to one style.
Yeah, and it's not rigid.
So there's a freedom of, it's not rigid. There's a freedom of association amongst the fighters, and I really like that because there's just been some really good technical breakthroughs that come through that. Like, I remember watching Ryan Kim do that takedown. I taught him, like, off of the wall where you, like, extend one leg and then you snatch the ankle. I was like, did he just fucking do that?
Right?
I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, and it was wasn't like we did a class on that. It was just like, here, let's drill this, you know. And even James asked me a question about a technique I was doing on Saturday, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him do that in his fight. Or even like Morgan, like there's tons of stuff that I want to help you grow with, but I'm learning too. So it's like, that's the cool thing. I never really did good when I had like a dictator in my life. Like, you know, I have this fuck it in me where I'm like, why are you telling me what to do? Even if I respect you, I'm like, yeah, but I don't know why you're telling me to do.
What the hell you think you know?
Yeah, what are you trying to tell me this for? So I think at AMC we have a good thing going.
Yeah, I was working with Greg holding pads. He was holding pads for me first, and then he's like, no, just tell me what you want me to do. Tell me like how you move. And it was really cool. He taught me this like way to throw my hook to a low 10, and I tried it out. It was awesome. It worked really well. Yeah, it worked really well.
I hear he likes whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah, Old Sage. That's my guy.
But it's so cool because every instructor there is going to teach you something different. And but at the end of the day, everyone just says like, look, this is you. We're giving you a piece of clay. You mold it. Yeah. Matt said something one time that stuck with me, and he said like, I think it was a good fighter is someone that can repeat what they were just told, but a good martial artist is someone that can take what they were just told and make it their own, and then add on to it. You know, I mean, he developed the Mighty Wizard from a sequence of moves that other people had taught him.
Wait, what's the Mighty Wizard? Is that the armbar thing?
Is it the Mighty, the Mighty Wizard?
I mean, DJ called like the Mighty Whiz Bar. The one that he got Ray Borg in.
Oh,
before Ray Borg was blinded by Conor McGregor.
Yeah, dude.
Freaking ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm just saying, fuck all this working together. It's all about number one. And
that number one
life.
and that number one is Scott McDonald.
McDonald life. Yeah. Start all the shit you can with your group of cronies. So there was one thing I wanted to talk to. I kind of missed out on it when we were talking about YPG and stuff, but I wanted to bring it up. Like, how do you think martial arts, especially MMA, acts as like an empowering tool for women in terms of self-defense? Because like I noticed that after like Trump was elected, you know, fuck that guy. there was a huge enrollment of women in self-defense classes. Now whether that was from just how the shit he said, the things he's gotten away with, or it was just a scare about like Islamophobia that kind of took hold in the country, there's a lot of women just signing up for self-defense. So what do you think? And is there a wrong self-defense for women? Because I've seen some
110%.
So can you talk about it as an empowering tool, but where is it wrong too?
Yeah, so I think the most empowerment thing about it is, for one, awareness, and then two, confidence. I think that's kind of the base of why women would join or try to figure out how to defend themselves. Because I think about how I felt like such a little person, and then training and learning martial arts has made me feel like I can walk around somewhere and not feel scared or endangered by the men or just people in my surroundings.
You know what Pat Miletich called that? He said like when he was in fight shape, he'd be in the mall and he's like, I feel like a great white shark around guppies. No, because he said that in the book, The Mind of a Fighter. He was just so dialed in that he was like, I'm ready for whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I've gone on runs late at night. I'm like, this probably isn't a great idea, but I think I got my own back on this one, you know?
Yeah, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, because no one really wants to go through life feeling scared. I mean, we kind of live our lives based off fear anyways. Like for me, it was always the fear of being rejected. And so I always try to...
That's a motherfucker.
Yeah. When I learned...
I reject myself.
Yeah, right? Yeah. You're like, I hate myself, but like, why? Why would you hate yourself? You're only you.
You're great, yeah.
What was the first?
You just talked about how it's empowering, right?
Yeah,
and I think for just even across gender, like that is true. It's like it's good to feel empowered and feel like you're in control of your body. I honestly think like in a society where there's like a unique form of violence against women, that's extra important for women.
Yeah.
So thank you for addressing that. But the other thing is there a wrong form of self-defense for women? Because I've seen some wacky self-defense.
Jitsu by Jay White?
Yeah, like is there a wrong form that's just going to get women hurt, or is it just bullshit?
I think there's definitely bullshit technique out there.
And I guess I say women, so let me be careful. I think there's just bullshit technique in general, but I mean there's a market for women's self-defense specifically.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a business platform essentially that other people can make money off of. So it's kind of I read this thing about how women will tend to join gyms or just fitness activities that make them feel a part of a community. So it almost doesn't matter what it is. It's just that sense of community and like building together that a lot of women strive for. But it's like if you guys are all kind of building using, I don't know, just the typical
cardio kickboxing and then just describing it as self-defense.
Yes, yeah.
1, 2. So if a pervert comes up to you, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, side kick, side kick, side kick. Like that shit's not gonna work.
No, I would never teach a woman how to throw a 1-2 if I want them to learn how to defend themselves. I feel like things like elbows are 100% way better of a technique.
Those in close, when the creepers just come in like fucking creepers.
Yeah.
Like, you never know when those motherfuckers are gonna hop out of an alley and just
with the vest on.
Yeah, with a vest on, and then just set up some Pankration podcast as a guy.
You have to steal the vest first because it was so good looking.
So you said elbows though, and like I'm sure like
just to the groin.
Knees to the groin have got to be.
Yeah, I mean definitely. If I'm trying to put down a man, I'm gonna go for the weak spot. Just kind of that's the reality of being a male. You guys have weaknesses too.
That's my #1 spot to hit in anyway.
Yeah, no, we're actually trying to train other men to hit other men right in the dick.
Right in the dick.
I'm coming to AMC soon, guys. Watch out for Scott's dick shot.
Right up, Baines.
I'll show the cleanest technique. 1, head movement, dick shot, going down. Ladies, feel free to join because I want y'all to be safe when you're clubbing.
We'll all
even if you're just going to the fucking library,
there's some creeps in the library.
There's just creeps everywhere, man.
Yeah.
So elbows, knees to the groin.
We'll show on
and then get the fuck out of there, right?
Well, I think one of the biggest thing though is learning how to not put yourself in the situation in the first place.
That's the ultimate goal.
So would you say it's the awareness?
Yeah, that's where the awareness and the just kind of like, I don't know, I think of being where we're at right now in this room and it's like pretty safe, but
it's having situational awareness.
Yeah, but you have to know kind of like where your exits are. You know, I'm in a room with 3 guys and there's just 1 woman here. You know,
this is dangerous.
What kind of vibes am I reading from you guys? You know, there's red flags out there that sometimes we can be naive to. Been there, done that, but I think we just have to understand how to feel and relate and understand our gut feeling.
Intuition.
Yeah, like Thug Rose is a great example of this. She was on Joe Rogan talking about how they were at some place and she's just got this gut feeling. And they're like, whenever Thug Rose has this gut feeling, you just got to go with it. You trust her. And then shit went down after a minute after they left.
Yeah, and this fucking chair just came rolling right through the fucking bus.
Yeah.
And this crazy Irish guy is screaming, break the windows, break the windows. And you're just like, and Thug Rose told us what was going to happen verbatim. No, but yeah, intuition in women.
She told Ray Borg to look away.
It's a motherly sense or something, you know.
There's been studies about that women have stronger intuition than men, because I feel like sometimes when shit goes down, men will just sit there like, huh? Or try to be a fucking hero and get smoked.
It's the ego thing a little bit. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not listening to shit. No, it's someone to asking directions. Like, I'm not lost. I know exactly where I'm going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the situational awareness thing is huge, because I think it's not just women or just a lot of people like you're talking about. I think back to your earlier point talking about how we're watching military documentaries. I think what separates people like heading into combat is that they have a heightened state of awareness. They're not just like going about their lives because I feel even like especially nowadays how everyone's like on their phone, not looking at stuff. I mean,
has the belly poking out.
Yeah. I mean, they don't. They probably don't own a mirror.
Perfect moment of complete unaware, just being completely unaware, lack of consciousness.
Yeah.
Great point. Great point.
No, but a lot of people live their life.
A lot of people are asleep.
No, a lot of people are asleep. No, that's true. It's just like they'll be walking, like they'll be actually conscious, but are they really conscious of what's going on? Like a lot of people have been walking by here. Are they really conscious of what they're doing?
I mean, we could be plotting murder
We're
right
not
now.
talking about you, Ender.
We're talking about people, not you. But no, you're right. And I mean, having that level of awareness can be exhausting. And it's like, I just want to. Women have to constantly be aware of that attack that may be coming, or that manipulation that may be coming, like in the form of like someone trying to take advantage of you. I remember I was walking with no longer girlfriend, but an ex now, but a long time ago. We were like walking in Seattle, and then she was trying to find a bathroom, so she went off on her own. I just kind of sat there, and then all of a sudden I had this moment of consciousness where I was like, I shouldn't fucking let her walk into this like area where there's nobody. I should be going because you never fucking know, right? You just never know. But yeah,
it's like headphones too. I catch myself because I just got these new pair of headphones, and they're just these giant things that sit in my ears. But really, I'm losing all awareness of my senses. And so, especially walking downtown when it's still dark out in the mornings.
Because you take the train and bus.
Yeah, I take a bus. Yeah, so I drive to AMC in the mornings, take a bus from there down to Westlake Center, and then walk out the center, and there's, you know, homeless people still on drugs, just like right there. You know, so every morning you see that, and it's like, shit, I should probably pay attention to that.
You just never know.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a situation or an environment like that.
It can be any environment, really, because you know, danger can happen from when you least expect it.
Yeah.
I was like, all that shit going down with Russia. That's what I'm really worried about. Any moment, fucking cruise missile just comes right down on UW Bothell.
Yeah.
God, no.
And a lot of times in situations where you trust, and maybe blindly, that someone's going to take care of you and that their intentions are true to what they say. But it's not always the case. I've known female MMA fighters that have been in situations with their coaches where they trusted them, they gave them, you know, like their blind trust.
I've heard the same thing.
And the coaches take advantage of that. And I don't know if it's a women to male kind of relationship thing, but I don't know if that really necessarily happens male to male.
I feel. I mean, it can happen, like, but you hear about that across other sports too. How, you know, pedophilia.
Well, Sandusky.
I think it's not just. I think it's really just a matter of power.
It is a power dynamic, and I think it occurs with men and women though. And like I've heard stories even around AMC about like instructors that had to get let go because they were doing really creepy stuff, like following female students home, and then like, or just saying things that are inappropriate, right? And it's like,
just
I'm glad that that doesn't occur a lot at AMC.
But it does occur everywhere else. I mean, I've definitely been in grappling gyms or just kind of anywhere where I was training with males, and like the tickling or
wait, Morgan, hold on. Tickling?
So guys, for some freaking reason, think it's like cute to flirt with girls when we're training.
And or take notes.
No, don't take notes.
And so it's like they'll try to be fun, and they'll tickle you a little bit. And you're like, fuck you, I'm trying to do jiu-jitsu right now. I'm trying to strangle you, and you're trying to tickle me. It's just like, it's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
You're just disrespecting my ability.
I wish I would see I wish a motherfucker would try to tickle me.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'll tickle you, Scott.
Yeah, you guys tickle each other when you grapple?
No.
So why the fuck would you do that to me?
Yeah,
that's like never occurred to me. Yeah, from there.
If that shit happens,
to me, I would slap somebody.
Yeah, if some shit happens like that, come get the big homie. All right.
For me, it's like, I just like, in that moment, for me, it's kind of hard for me to stand up for myself sometimes, so I just kind of like laugh about it.
How many times have you been tickled? Dude, that's fucking crazy, bro.
Quite a few times, yeah. Different guys, and then you just kind of learn like this one dude just decided to put his balls in my face, like on purpose, you know, like it was really, you know, you get north south sometimes, but like for what he did, it was clearly intentional, just to like, I want to put my balls in your face, and that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Nah.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, so I don't.
We found out it was Scott.
Why would you? Yeah, definitely not me. I respect my training partners.
Yeah.
So, God damn it, Ender.
Yeah, so it's just a lack of respect, you know?
Lack of respect.
Yeah, lack of respect.
Unawareness.
Yeah.
Or sometimes what I think it is that a male ego will not want a woman to be able to be on the same level as him, so he has to find a way to dumb it down or kind of
like bring them down.
Yeah. Be like, oh, we're just playing.
Yeah.
No, just grapple me like you're grappling you versus you. kind of thing.
You gotta be a real fucking weirdo if that even crosses your mind. Like, I just think, for me in training, I'm so focused on just being better. Like, I would never. First of all, I was raised real well. My mama taught me how to respect women, and even like to a point where it's like sometimes I just stay away because I don't want to be disrespectful. Like, you know?
No, it's like there's a woman on fire. Like my mom
I
told
don't
me
want
not to touch people when they don't. Ma'am, is it okay if I touch you? Right?
I over exaggerate just to show that like I was taught respect. So it's like, especially in a sport where you're all trying to get better, like that. Yeah, that fucking pisses me off that has occurred. But it's good you're at a good gym now where people don't do shit like that and they just want to help you be a badass. So.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I got a lot of support with you guys.
Solid squad.
Yeah.
So could you? We want to make sure on here we get when your fight is, because you mentioned it, but your fight, your blog, and then your T-shirt too.
Yeah, I just designed that. Okay, so I have a T-shirt that I'm selling, and what I want to do with all the proceeds, like I don't want to make any money off of this. I just want to donate to kind of like local people in the community or people that are aspiring to do martial arts. You know, it just be basically, you know, taking what I get extra from the T-shirts and just dispersing it back into the community. So I have a few people that I think just are like the most amazing people that are supportive for every fighter out there. And I want them just to realize that, like, I think they should get more credit. You know, in my blog post where I'm kind of talking about what I'm going to do with my T-shirts, I talk about how just that all this negative attention to freaking, you know, Conor McGregor or John Jones hitting a pregnant woman, you know, that gets a lot of acknowledgement.
Damn it, not again, John.
Yeah, and the people that do great things aren't getting that same level as acknowledgement.
Yes.
Demetrius Johnson, you know.
Who's that?
Yeah,
nicest
right?
fucking guy.
Watches our.
He does watch the podcast.
You know,
he was like, "Hey, Scott, sorry podcast. You look like you lost some weight." Like, thank you, but pay attention to the words.
I mean, thank you. I did.
No, I mean, thank you. Yeah, I've been getting back in the gym, you know. But that's awesome because on this show, we are trying to continue to shift the like public idea
to highlight. You know, it's not just meatheads.
There's good, thoughtful, philosophical-minded, socially conscious people that participate in this sport. So
absolutely,
that's awesome.
Which might go downhill when we interview Jay White.
Or it might go uphill with Jay White.
That's true. Talk about his fights with Nate Diaz. But anyway, so what was that? Yeah, so how can people find out more about your T-shirts again? Like, what's the link to your blog?
So it should be fight dash with dash me. That's hard to say. .com/blog/ T-shirts for champs. Yeah, so basically anyone, when you donate or buy a T-shirt, you'll get one in the mail. To all my Tucson fans out there, I'm going to send out a big box that way so that the shipping will be a little bit cheaper. But basically, I want to do this because I think more people could embody what it's like to be a champion, even though you're not a performing martial artist. But there's everyday champs, and those people deserve some freaking credit.
Hashtag everyday champs.
Over there, freaking falling off the table. Ender.
Not the best
so
timing.
Maybe we might give a little bit of Ender, you know. Unpaid intern.
And then you can be an everyday champ or an everyday ender. One is easier than the other.
I like how you said that right as Ender fell off the table.
One involves naps.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically the purpose of my website, Fight With Me, is to kind of encourage strengthening ourselves in ways that we just haven't tried. You know, it's all about challenges. So can you challenge yourself to, like for me, a big one is 5 a.m. club. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day.
I try
except for the weekends. Yeah, the alarm clock, Scott.
I'm gonna try again this week. 5 a.m. club.
That's what they are.
I don't know.
They beat me.
Yeah. But basically, I was inspired. One day I was hiking Poo Poo Point, and I just decided to challenge myself, kind of like in the moment, to just hike up Poo Poo Point without stopping. I mean, it's not that difficult to do, but at the same time, it's kind of like it's a little bit of a leg workout. So, but it felt super satisfying and fulfilling to complete a challenge. and just to be like, well, now I have the basis, like, well, I can definitely go up there without stopping, so now where can I run up it? And then on the way back down, I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself to say something to everybody I pass by. Yeah. Because I think so often, I see this every day walking downtown, all of us have our headphones in, we kind of just disregard, and don't have any awareness to the people around us, and so I said, like, Happy New Year's to every single one of them, and then it's like, oh, when you kind of create that bond with someone, even if it's in passing, you kind of like, I feel like you grow as a tree in a weird way.
No, but
I totally
am
down with that.
Yeah.
It's just causing that because you're causing a connection. That's what dialogue is, and it's a connection that person wasn't necessarily expecting, but it's a pleasant one. That because how often do you say hello to people that you don't know, especially in that kind of setting, like you're saying, like a busy city street, like.
Well, that's the problem with our urban centers is they're so fractured in terms of just focusing on the task at hand, ignoring everybody around you, minding your business, and not going out of your way to make connections. And we have technology now that's really expedited that thing where you fall into your phone and it's this artificial social engagement.
Yeah, it's like artificial connections.
We're not having face-to-face debate. We're having screen-to-screen debate. Yeah. We're not having we're having weird sort of connections online, and it doesn't seem genuine, right?
Well, but I feel also more so on that point. I remember I talked to you this before, but what happens with all this online is or just internet is you can connect to voices that only speak to what you want to hear.
It's the echo chamber.
Exactly. It's a very selective voice. So you can go your whole day. You can go on your phone. You can go onto your angry white person blog.
Shout out to all my communist slow pages. I love those shits. I love those shits. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
You keep saying that as there were 5 guys with
And that's when Scott was detained by the Center of Un-American Activity. I just wanted to share with people.
Yeah. No, but it's because sometimes you do need you need that. Yeah, you need to connect with people who don't necessarily think on the same values as you.
Absolutely.
It's like that debate or it's that challenge, it's that growth, more so on that growth, because you need to be in a state of almost discomfort to grow past where you're comfortable from there. And I think that's what your challenges are about. And I think more so when people realize that they can go about challenges, they're not by themselves, I feel that that's when they grow even more. I mean, look at our training group, or just being around other people who are striving for other things. It helps you further yourself on your path, knowing that there's other people embarking on not exactly the same challenges, but similar challenges on their own. Understanding that is possible. Everyone faces strife, but you can still keep moving forward from there.
And there's almost this group therapy thing that kind of takes place at AMC. And it's just you're able to, because you've been so vulnerable and physically, you're able to just emotionally sometimes
I think it's being honest about it. It's being honest and vulnerable in a sense, things that you wouldn't really associate with with tough, it's supposed to be tough people from there, but in essence what creates toughness is you need to have essentially essentially the opposite of it, to build strength, you almost need to build yourself down, and then you yourself will build yourself up to get there. And I think that's the same thing in terms of that, in terms of mentally, in terms of growing as a person. You need to almost push yourself to a state where you need to get broken down, and that's how you come back stronger mentally from there. And I think it's that growth process, and I think that's why we all notice, because we're all essentially trying to grow, not just as martial artists, but as people. And I think that's important, because it's not just the physical growth, it's the mental growth, and I feel like this is what it's about as well.
Definitely more important, I think. Especially since I've been training at AMC, I think it's been more about my mental growth than my physical growth, because the physical growth just comes from naturally after my mental growth has.
Yeah.
It's spiritual in a way. Fighting is such a primitive thing. It takes you back to this place where you're and describing it to people who are outside of it is still difficult, because it is, regardless of gender, although there's a unique experience with being a woman or being whatever, it's still kind of looked at as in the corporate.
It's looked at with taboo for sure.
Yeah,
it's just in America though. If you go outside America, you go into Asia. I mean, martial arts is the most respected thing there is. It's a gem there.
That's why in friggin' one, or even I remember watching the old Pride videos, you so someone passes someone's guard and they're oh. Someone just throws a good jab, dink. Oh. You know?
Yeah, in America they want to see you throw chairs at people's buses.
Yeah, and talk mad
Always.
shit. Be an asshole.
Yeah.
Listen to the last podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Ender with his vest.
Where are we at on time, bro? I hate
Yeah,
asking
we're going
that.
20 minutes. You're done.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now let's talk about what do you see in terms of, you know, when you're talking about with your shirt, you're talking about like, I remember I read your post, you're talking about like Rose Namajunas and like you want to be a good person. Like what good attributes like do you see like from Rose? But why do you? So how do you think that helps? Because I feel like a lot of people, like Scott was saying, how when they see fighting, they think of just assholes essentially.
Yeah.
Like
Especially now.
Well,
Yeah.
especially now. So like why? Okay, what's your take on that? Like what's your take on why people are attracted to that kind of personality wise, and why, like just your theory on that.
Well, it's hard to pinpoint kind of like why someone's attracted to that. I think it's easy for people to be attracted to kind of malicious things. I think all of us kind of have this maliciousness deep inside of us.
It's out there.
That, you know, it's like, that's why bullying occurs. You know, you have some kind of insecurity.
That's why people throw fucking balls at pins. Strikes!
Bullying.
Turkey. Bullying.
Yeah, bullying.
But we all have these insecurities inside of us, and some of us choose or have the ability to kind of either be able to put ourselves into someone else's shoes or just wear our shoes and put our issues onto other people.
That's very true. Well, that's a great point, because a lot of times, like you said, when people bully, they're essentially, it's not just that the person's making them feel uncomfortable; they feel uncomfortable about themselves, and that's why they're pushing out their outward issues on them. So yeah, and that's a shame, but that's very true. It's like that lack of empathy, and it's really just a lack of understanding. It's a lack of how to deal with their own emotions, like from there.
And it's frustrating because that type of behavior is like getting rewarded, and so it's like especially in the UFC right now, and now it's kind of backfired, right? With Conor just losing his shit, it's backfired. But yeah, and you see all these people who otherwise, if he hadn't been getting paid, wouldn't have been talking shit, and it's just embarrassing.
Right.
But the other thing too is I don't know, I think. We were at Pocholo's Thursday night, like off the top, right?
Off the top comedy.
And there was this guy, shout out to them, who was just talking about how like
how bullies dominate.
And they're successful in society, which is like that's not always.
He was being mad real about it. Like,
yeah, it's not always true, but like that's what they do. It's not really when they succeed. It's because of domination. It's because you overcame somebody. You weren't like thoughtful. You were just literally cutthroat, and you were just a domineering personality. And I just. It's socially constructed for sure, especially with capitalism. Like just take advantage of people, exploit people, overcome people, and win. But it's like it seems like that's a less and less effective way of just being with other people, you know. And I would hope that now with we're in a state of like another rise of consciousness for women, for like minority rights and Black Lives Matter, and just like it's rising again. I hope we can out those fucking people, right? Like just continue to be like, nope. We don't want you to participate. Yeah. Not like wish harm on them, but like, no, we just don't want you to be a part of this. Like, and I would hope that Conor feels the ramifications of doing what he did. Like, I would like to see sponsors like jump ship and stuff, because it's just unacceptable behavior. And you're right, the nice guys and the thoughtful people, they're just not getting the attention or the promotion. Like, that's what frustrates me about like Stipe, right? Yeah. Stipe is like the like funniest, goofiest, but hardworking like guy. He's a firefighter.
Right? Yeah.
He's a firefighter. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. He's like the most all-American guy you could think of.
No promotion. No. Even Demetrius, we talked about this on the last podcast. It's like down to earth, humble, great father, great teammate. Just
great Twitch following.
And he's real like that 100% of the time. You know, there's no media DJ, and then there's...
No, I've known him for years, and he's the same dude.
Scott has known DJ since...
I fought him.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Still out to get him.
He took me and beat me. Beat me for the Muay Thai title. I will take it.
I didn't know you fought DJ.
Yeah, I did.
Well, Briggs did too, right? Another instructor.
And so did Mike Richardson.
Yeah.
Anyway. No comment.
back to where did we start off in that?
Let's see, in that discussion. I asked like what. So what do you think? Like how can there be a shift towards like nice people getting attention, or like do you see?
Because there's something you see in Rose, and you're wanting to impact the culture because it sounds like you're aware of the shift. Like who's getting the attention, and it's not the good. I mean, I don't want to ever use a good and bad distinction, but it's not the people who embody values that are really at the core of martial arts. Humility, respect,
integrity,
teamwork, right? What you said about I can be in my own shoes or I can put myself in other people's shoes is literally like empathy. And Stephen Hawking just passed away, but what he said will save the human race will be high levels of empathy because we're losing that, on a mass scale, right? And so
because it's just further isolationism of ideas.
Exactly, and so a return to empathy is important. So that's just kind of what we were talking about, and it's really I admire that you're trying to push that and keep that going in MMA culture because we're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's all about being the change you want to see in the world. So I think we all have to just kind of put ourselves in those shoes and just embody it ourselves, and the more we can spread it and more we can share it, it's just gonna butterfly effect. And I don't know, I think I can't do much to people that don't want to see change in the world. So for me, it's just focusing on people that want to grow, and I think we can all live a better life on this earth for however long we still have it, because apparently global warming's not real. I actually was reading this post about how women now are considering not having children because they don't want to raise their children to be raised in the future, which is really interesting.
Right,
and I was like, oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah. And it pisses me off too, because it's like what they do is they're like, hey, shrink your carbon footprint, be conscious of recycling, and it's like, that's cool, but unless we have like a mass shift in production and the type of fuel we use, because it's like, no, these are mass systems that are contributing to global warming, and then what they do is they subvert it onto you as an individual. And look, you can shrink your carbon footprint and do that, and then that'll reduce your overall carbon emissions, but what about the fucking factory or all the cars that are pushing out? It's like, hey,
drilling oil.
Oh yeah, clean coal. Like, no, it still creates a greenhouse effect that traps heat, which is melting in Greenland, Iceland, like, and even Antarctica. Like, we're seeing massive shifts in the ice body and the ice shelves, and it's like, it's fucking ridiculous. That's a whole other conversation, though.
I know, right? Let's talk about global warming.
Well, the Earth will be real clean once all the people are dead.
Yeah, exactly. And
Speaking
the billionaire class, fucking Elon Musk just gets in his like one-man rocket and is like, we're going to Mars. Fuck everybody else. God damn it.
I write in this book, I think it's called A New Earth.
A New Earth?
By Eckhart or something like
that. Is that Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah. And he talks about how being a nice and commendable person sounds great, but you really have to reach another level of consciousness. And I think that's what he said is going to save kind of humanity, is the whole community be able to raise their level of consciousness.
Yeah. I wish it could be done like through passive methods. I just don't know if there's going to be some sort of mass protest or some sort of organization that is going to need to shift the power imbalance. Because there's studies that have said we've now reached a level of inequality that is similar to third world countries. I don't like that distinction, but it is a problem. And politics are not, it's just largely, like Pocholo just said, controlled by corporations. So just the communities and just the masses don't have a voice, right? And everyone, that's the great thing about social media, though, is like the generation, like Ender's generation, are becoming more conscious of like, well, maybe this whole two-party shit isn't working. And maybe this economic system is actually crumbling. Like, we need to think of new ways of collaboration, ways of taking care of the environment and organizing, right?
But that's just taking action. It's like taking action and raising that awareness from there. And
but then you got this old guard that just loves the guy who's like, oh, fucking grab some pussy and launch the missile at Syria now. Like, I tell it like it is.
Yeah, but that's why that's the old guard, and that's why, I mean, we can get swayed by that, like what Morgan's saying, but at the end of the day, all you can do is really control, yourself, the people around you, and I think it's just creating creating like that effect around you, like the halo effect. Yeah.
Yawning.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing? Wait, am I on the camera? He was literally doing this. I hope they said like he's just poking his finger in his pants like this. No, you were poking your finger.
Is that still
in
there?
between your pants?
That was my fucking rib.
Ender, that is not appropriate.
Yeah.
That is not appropriate.
Damn it, you guys.
Ender, I am offended.
Damn it.
Oh God, like somebody gives a shit.
I was all like bigging up the youth, and it's like, nope, the future is in people like this.
Yeah.
His hands.
Someone's
Yeah.
trying to take a goddamn nap.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at that vest.
It's glorious, by the way, for our viewers.
Yeah.
Fucking glorious.
Yeah. No, but
You shouldn't be swearing, Ender. You're 15. Just kidding. I'm not gonna tell you to live your
Damn,
life.
you really hit him with the mom.
It's in me, you know. It's just natural.
Watch your mouth.
Regular
Yeah.
basis.
Ender, you just need to stop cussing.
I mean, that's not even the dirtiest thing
God.
about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
It's 15.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's poking his belly
My
button.
fucking rib.
That's not what you were doing
No, it's
It's my
earlier.
rib.
You were down like
No,
this.
no.
I saw it.
It's
What's
like this way.
Yep. So pankration philosophy. Expanding awareness, expanding thought. Yeah.
Be
That's-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be you. Embracing.
And please
embracing
support
change.
Morgan in her blog and with her
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Thank you.
www.fight dash.
Dash me.
No, dash. www.fight
Everyone show
dash.
up. When's the
with
fight again? June 8th?
June
June
2nd.
2nd.
June
Yeah.
2nd.
XFC, Edmonds Community College fight start at 7 this time. Thank
Yeah.
God they boosted that up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sucks fighting at midnight.
Yeah. Morgan, she's selling t-shirts.
Yep, 20
Yep.
bucks.
Yep.
All proceeds are donated.
Yeah, good cause. Speaking of good causes, you can also
Oh, God.
go to www.patreon.com/pankration philosophy. You shut up, Ender. This is how
This
you
is
get
for you.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
this is for
We're
you.
helping you out.
Yeah. You're literally biting not even biting the hands that feed, just shooting the person that's
Yeah, dude.
about to feed you here.
That's
But
why
yes.
you keep your enemies close, bro.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a Judas in the camp.
Yeah.
And we fucking
I
found
think we see. I mean, did Judas wear fur? Because I think he
I'm pretty
did.
sure you're looking
Yeah.
real Judas right now.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you made it this far, clearly you've either been watching us on YouTube or been listening, but yeah, www.patreon.com/pankration philosophy.
Pay for my
Yeah.
dates.
And there's on no dates, but just like, yeah, support us, help us keep this going. You know, we're
Please.
ready to keep this going.
Support
yeah.
just the whole fight community. We're all out there
Yeah.
struggling, amateurs taking brain damage for no pay. So
God damn,
Yeah,
that's real.
and they're having no dates.
It almost makes you think, why?
yeah,
Why
why
would
do
we
we
do
do
it?
this?
Yeah.
Been there before.
That
Yeah.
made me shit, by the way.
And to be quiet.
Yeah, well, so we're just trying to get you to relate to the amateur fighder experience.
Yeah.
Because they don't get
Yeah, but now we're gonna punch you just to show you the damage. that
Yeah,
happens,
exactly.
too.
I respect
Yeah.
that.
I respect that.
Okay.
Well, anyways, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
This was
It's a
awesome.
pleasure.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Take some naps.
See you guys June 2nd.